Thanks for joining us here in Windsor for the DSP Leaders World Forum, where I am delighted to be joined by Paul Miller, Chief Technology Officer at Wind River, and Yago Tenorio, Fellow and Network Architecture Director at Vodafone Group. Thank you so much for joining us.
It's wonderful to be here.
My pleasure.
So first of all, how is the Open RAN deployment coming along?
Oh, it's going very well. It's coming along well. So it's been a few months since we announced that we had the first site up. It's taking commercial traffic. It's in a rural site in the UK. We're very satisfied with the performance and the whole process. It's actually gone as per the plan, which is not always the case. We're now planning to actually take a cluster to a urban area, including massive MIMO and everything else, which hopefully will answer the most often asked question that I get, which is this technology mature enough to be deployed in urban? We'll just wait and see. And I think also, to be fair, the success of this project and seeing how it actually performs on the field was one of the factors why we announced while we were in Barcelona on the Mobile World Congress that we are taking Open RAN to 30% of our footprint in Europe by 2030, which I think is very significant and is actually not that, long from now, because deployment needs to start at least 5 years before. So,
ambitious targets.
Yes, and it's been wonderful to have Vodafone as a customer and really a strategic partner, right? We have a tremendous team, synergies working together for the network planning and deployment activities that we're going through, and really trying to learn from Vodafone's strategic view with what they want to do with the technology as we move forward and make even some changes to it to accommodate that vision. So really great partnership, and really excited to bring the other partners into an integrated solution there that is really proving to be carrier scale and carrier grade.
I think we're learning together.
Yeah, very new technology space, so exciting to work.
Now, what's interesting about Open RAN is the potential TCO reductions, with some estimates placing them between 20 and 30% compared to traditional RAN. So how do you evaluate this, and what do you see as key contributing factors to those reductions?
You're very well informed. So, we think that could be right. Now, mind you, that is a long-term target, so it's not reality today, it's too early. But we think that in 5 years from now, that could be the ballpark where we can be, as long as we get at least three things right. The first one is, we always said that Open RAN, creating diversity in the ecosystem, will attract innovation. So we need to make sure that innovation is unleashed. We need to get the silicon right. So, it will serve us really poorly if we attract diversity on suppliers, but then if you open the box, all the, silicon is exactly the same as it was before. There is, a few things that we still need to do to make sure that it's open, is diverse, and is standard. And the third thing that we need to get right is system integration. Without those, I don't think we'll reach that range.
Yeah, and we've also looked at it after several years of experience deploying vRAN and ORAN type technologies, really making investments around a couple of different areas. One is that in the technology framework, you need to have certain capabilities: zero-touch deployment, distributed cloud technologies, single pane of glass, high performant, low footprint at the edge, low core consumption in the edge compute node. These things all drive down total cost of ownership, right? So you have to have that to get at least to parity or better than what is currently being deployed for RAN technology, which is a key part of the business case. The other pieces that are really learned through experience, so the expertise of our personnel working with Yago's teams, is really making sure we have operational tools, high levels of software automation, ease of deployment, ease of operational monitoring with AI, ML, and analytics, orchestration and automation tools that really help the day-to-day operations of the network. Because it's one thing to take such a disaggregated technology and get it out and deployed and have it to be able to support the application. But it's quite a different thing to be able to run it on a day-to-day basis and monitor it and keep it alive. And it's a significant operational challenge to do that. And then the final piece we think is really important is the openness, right? Where the technology that we're bringing to Vodafone is based on the Starling X project from the Open Infrastructure Foundation. And that's an open source first methodology, right? So it's a very open, even to the source code being open to the community. and then contributing that technology into the ORAN community, right? So that it's used as the OCloud foundation for all of the ORAN work that's going on today. So we as a company have a very serious commitment to open source and openness within the overall solution. And I think that plays a key piece of the value that Yago and his team look for.
Yago, going back to your point about system integration, can you tell us a bit more about your idea to adopt a new system integration approach and how partners like Wind River can participate?
Right. Yeah, we're learning a lot. So in the last year or year and a half of efforts to roll out Open RAN and make it operational, we are learning a lot in that we took on system integration on ourselves. And today we published a white paper with our first kind of learning and impressions and a call to action to the industry that I think is worth reading. But in essence, the difference between the traditional RAN, the incumbent architecture, and the Open RAN is that, of course, the traditional RAN is integrated centrally in one place, one vendor, assemble the components, and takes care of the integration, and then operators can buy that. For Open RAN to work and be cost effective, we need to find a model that deduplicates that. So we can't afford that integration to be done once per operator or once per supplier. So we came up with this idea after trying several different ways. And we can have like a geographically dispersed, distributed model, but coordinated centrally so that in effect it works as a centralized model, but it takes place in different labs in the different vendors. So that's one critical aspect of it. The other one, I would call it pre-staging, which I think it speaks to your ambition to speed up the rollout and the operational processes on the operator. There's nothing better that we could do apart from that distributed lab that, ships the hardware pre-tested to the operator than to configure and to load the software images that the operator is going to want on the field for that particular site, directly from origin, so that we ship that already configured. Those two things, I think, are going to drive down the cost significantly.
Well, we think that white paper is going to gain tremendous industry acceptance. So the strategy that's being proposed there is really there to solve a significant problem that not many people are aware of. And as we engage with our customers globally, we're seeing a kind of a reticence to adopt these new technologies. And that's really driven by a high level of friction to adopt them. Typically, the integration is something that the service provider has to perform. They're bringing all these vendors together into a disaggregated solution, and there's a high effort and complexity there. And so it's really necessary for the industry to step up and solve that problem with better integration between the vendors that provide that solution into the carrier. And so the white paper discusses a method by which we can work together with labs and cooperative software integration and testing to perform that integration between the partners and then bring that more ready solution to the service providers. The end result of that is a significant reduction of the friction that will tend to drive adoption of the technology faster. We're very excited by that and are lending our support to it. Mainly, we see that we've even seen, for example, the Del Oro report data that captures about 15% market penetration by, I think, 2026 or 2027, about the time that 6G work starts. And that's really inadequate penetration for this type of new technology. So we need to bend that curve, and having the vendors work together for pre-integrated solutions and cooperative lab activities and even deployment assistance as we go into the carrier should help solve that problem.
Finally, what is your long-term vision for the approach we've discussed, and what can other ecosystem vendors and potentially CSPs expect to come from it?
Well, I think most important expectation here is that as an operator, you have to expect to take a role here. It's not like buying an incumbent architecture that's been pre-integrated. It's true that this is a call to action for the industry, and there can be neutral bodies that are doing some of the coordination. I think the whole system integration is starting to get an answer as to how are we gonna go about this. I think the direction that we set on our white paper, I think is interesting and should be explored. But at the end, as an operator, you are in charge of operating your network on a day-to-day. And you need to embed into your operational processes and between your NOC and, the different levels of support, you need to embed system integration resources that will be there to stay and will be doing a continuous effort to make sure that, when you have problems on the field, there's people who know what happens there.
Yeah, I also think that as we look forward over the next several years, while today the focus is very much on the cloud infrastructure, the cloud native technology being used to host these applications, as we go forward, those operational concerns will become paramount as we start to scale the network deployments. And providing things like digital feedback loops from the edge where you gain visibility into the deployed network and machine learning to process that huge volume of data that comes in, automation and orchestration tools to deploy the services in the network and really give the service provider tools to manage what is a disaggregated network with thousands of sites that's being operated as a single cloud environment. It's a non-trivial achievement there. And we've also seen, we did a white paper a while ago, for example, that if you look back at that, it's an Analysis Mason white paper you can pull from our website. It shows similar goals that are potential from a cost savings perspective. If you kind of have the right tool set and technology in addition to the operational practices that Yago's white paper talks through, it's exactly the right combination of technology and processes to really get to that cost savings.
Yago, Paul, thank you very much for a great discussion.
Sure, thank you. Thanks for having us.